your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Kayak Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, you know what today is? Besides Tuesday.
Why are you asking me all these crazy... You wanted me to know presidents. You wanted to know the historical significance 40 years ago.
From
yesterday.
A social, just average life perspective, I think you're missing out on some things. So I am trying to get you engaged in what is taking place.
Tuesday, February 25th.
What is today?
February 25th. Is it the...
Jeez.
I don't know.
It's Fat Tuesday.
Oh, what, Mardi Gras?
Typically, Fat Tuesday is associated with
I
Mardi
got an
Gras.
uncle that lives in New Orleans. He said a couple people have been mowed over by the floats this year so far.
Have you ever been to Mardi Gras with an uncle down there?
No. I don't like raucous, large... You're
not a crowd guy.
I'm not a crowd guy.
Yeah.
If I had the option of Mardi Gras or like 2 weeks in Alaska without human contact, I'm going Alaska 10 out of 10 times.
All right. I have never really went full-fledged, even in my college years, on a Fat Tuesday. You know, tomorrow's Ash Wednesday, me being the Catholic that I am. I just never have. I don't know why. I just never went berserk on Fat Tuesday. Some of the things that go on in New Orleans, though, on Fat Tuesday, quite interesting. Quite entertaining.
Wait, so does Lent start tomorrow?
Yes.
So that is Fat Tuesday the day before Lent intentionally?
Yeah.
So like you get all the crazy stuff out of your system and then you're like good through Easter.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's all making sense. It's kind of like a timeline. Isn't that somewhat hypocritical, Mark?
No.
No?
Just you need to do some research on some of the...
I feel like I had it down
things.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. So, good show today. I know a lot of people have requested that we get somebody on from the kayak world. And, folks, I'm going to look dead in the camera right now and tell you, this is not my expertise. I know very, very little. I am limited at my knowledge about what is taking place in the kayak bass fishing world. So I'm going to lean on you pretty much the entire show there, Matthew. I did a little research on Ron Champion, who's going to be our guest today live via Skype. And it seems like there's three characteristics about the kayak world that I picked up on. One, they are enormously passionate about what they are doing.
Yes.
Number two, it is quite the unique kind of just culture that exists within the bass fishing world.
Yes, you've got a lot of the kayak tournaments with the Hobie and I'm going to get the acronym wrong, the KB Kayak Bass KBT. You've got all these circuits that are starting, but it's still somewhat in its infancy. It hasn't been around for 50 years like it was with bass.
All the organizations are getting involved with it now.
And you're in the social media world, so it's growing immensely, especially with the introduction of Bassmaster having their own, and they had they kind of teamed with FLW last year. So yes, that's characteristic number two.
All right, and then the third one is, let me back up a minute. Like other things in the bass fishing world, people are very opinionated.
Yes.
Very opinionated.
Yes.
And social media and everything that goes on out there from a digital perspective is vitally important to the fans, to the anglers, to the industry itself from a kayak perspective. So in that sense, there's a lot of similarities between the kayak world and the bass fishing world.
Yes. Well, the kayak is in the bass fishing world. There's still tournament fishing for bass.
That's not what I'm saying, because it is a defined community. Now, do you have crossovers where guys do both? Yeah,
that's what Ron Champion is, who we're going to have on today. He started in the fiberglass. He does the kayak. He kind of has meddled in both of them before, but very accomplished kayak angler.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into a little bit of kayak bass fishing with Ron Champion here in a few minutes. A couple of things I want to pick your brain on first.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this story. I saw it on a couple of websites, and then USA Today had a story on it. Do you know about what is taking place in professional golf right now from a tour perspective? Have you heard anything about this?
No, I've been watching a lot of golf, but
there is a massive similarity between what is taking place right now in golf and professional bass fishing. Maybe not at the same level, but did you know that there was a group of PGA seasoned veteran touring professionals that are progressing toward forming their own tour?
Yes, I did hear about that.
And one of the biggest names in the game, Rory McIlroy, has come out publicly and said, I've given it plenty of thought, but no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
There's some big names behind it. Aren't there some older established veterans?
Yeah, well, here's a quote from McIlroy. It says, "The more I thought about it, the more I don't like it," McIlroy said ahead of his Thursday start of the World Championship at golf. They were in Mexico. The one thing as a professional golfer in my position that I value is the fact that I have autonomy and freedom over everything I do. This week is a perfect example. Some guys this week made the choice not to come to Mexico. If you go play this other golf league, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to have that choice. I read a thing the other day where it said if you take the money, they can tell you what to do. So if you don't take the money, they can't tell you what to do.
That's a good point. I understand where you're going with the parallels here.
Yeah, and I think that's my thing. I've never been one to be told what to do, and I have to have that autonomy and freedom over my career. And I feel like I would give that up by going to play for this other league. Wow.
Basically, that he's saying is the PGA is providing a platform. He can do whatever he wants to do outside of that he just goes and plays that tournament and they don't have any control over him, where this new league, then he would basically, for lack of a better term, be an employee of that league to where they would say, you have to do this, this, and this, and he's not all about that.
Yeah, and then his final quote, "For me, I'm out."
Okay.
All right. And then he follows that up and says, "That is unless one day comes where he is forced to go what is now being called the Premier Golf League, because most of the game's best would be in that league."
There's some unstated parallels here, Mark.
That's why I brought it to your attention. I was blown away by what Mr. McIlroy said. And then the final quote from the story, and you can check it out, folks, on USA Today. Really, really intriguing interview with Mr. McIlroy. He says, "My position is I'm against it until there may come a day that I can't be against it," he said. "If everyone else goes, I might not have a choice. But at this point, I don't like what they're proposing." Very, very, very interesting. So quite the story there. Now, I also have another bit of news that might affect some people, of which I stick up for all the time, being who, Matthew?
I'm at a loss here. Who do you stick up for?
The West Coast guys.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, that's a broad question. I didn't know it. Humanitarian-wise, fishing-wise, I don't know. Go ahead.
Wow. All right, listen to this. And the headline states, about 40 million people get their water from the Colorado River, studies show, and it's drying up.
Right.
All right. There was a study done how climate change is sapping is the word that they used. The Colorado River. And for those people that don't realize, the Colorado River flows into what?
All Lake Mead, all of those lakes
Yeah.
in Arizona. I mean, isn't that the main water
Yeah.
supply for not only all those farmers out there, but also Las Vegas?
And a lot of other
Yeah.
areas.
And then
All
they're
right?
shipping. Aren't they also shipping all
Yeah.
that water out to California and
Yeah,
stuff too?
yeah. It said because of the current situation, the Colorado River and everything involving the Colorado River could lose about 1/4 of its flow by 2050.
2050. Yeah, that's soon. A quarter of its flow. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
and one of the most amazing things, folks, if you haven't done it, is when you fly into Las Vegas, most of the time, if you're flying in from the east, you see Lake Mead. And what is one of the most visible traits about Lake Mead right now, Matthew?
How low it is.
Yeah, because you can see where the water line has been in the past based upon the discoloration
Of the rock.
Yeah, and the shoreline. So can you imagine Lake Mead being 25% lower than it is right now?
No.
Well, what the heck? So there is, I don't know if you call it a task force, but there's actually a group of scientists that are actually looking at maybe some solutions to try and help out. Another big factor has been the snow melt. Right, that the weather has not been as cold, obviously, to produce
not
the
as
amount
much
of
snow,
snow.
not as
So you don't have as much snow. So the snow melt is a vital part of what takes place in the Colorado River. But man, that just blew me away. 25%. I'm just thoroughly amazed every time I fly into Vegas and I see the lake and I see just the water line that's on that. And then the other thing is where everybody launches from for the U.S. Open. How that ramp,
It's
where
like
the ramp
a
used
mile
to
and
be,
a half.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How far that original ramp is, where
Yeah.
everybody put in, and I can remember
Yeah.
me and Byron Velvick putting in that ramp years and years ago. The first time I was ever on Lake Mead, and I can't
Totally
imagine that dropping 25% more than what it already is. So, man, let's get some snow.
You're shocked. You know what else was shocking?
What's that?
Did you see what happened yesterday in the Group B qualifying round? Jordan
which
Lee.
one? Yeah.
Jordan Lee zeroed the first day.
Yeah.
Caught 32-10, won the dang round, and went straight to the finals, beating out Dean Rojas by about 4 pounds. There were like 3 anglers. Jeff Sprague zeroed the first day, ended up finishing 7th in his round. And Stephen Browning zeroed the first day and ended up finishing 12th in the round. So you got 3 guys yesterday who goose-egged, who ended up coming back and making the final round, one of which who won.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That's really cool. So they're doing the knockout round today, and then
Yeah.
the top 8 will move on, and then they'll throw Takahiro and Jordan Lee in for the finals, and then you'll have your stage 2 champ, and then it is all
Yeah.
about the 50th Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah, it's coming. Classic Odds Show on Monday, and gonna have to do some homework over the weekend, Matthew, to really get that dialed in. So hopefully everybody will tune in. And once again, folks, this is unlike any other odds show that it is in existence in the bass fishing world. This is if Hookie the Bookie had the line in Vegas and was making the betting line in Vegas for entertaining purposes only on the players in the 50th Bassmaster Classic. So I'll get that rocking on Monday.
Are we considering Randall Tharp a Florida or an Alabama angler? What do you consider him? He's kind of gone back and forth on that. Is he, you know how
he's
he
kind
is?
of
Is he
both.
Alabama? But because this is important. Is he
Yeah.
Alabama or is he Florida? What are we going with?
Florida.
Can we go with Alabama just for the sake of
Okay,
this?
wait. Okay. Wrong answer.
Okay, no, he is in 16th right now in the knockout round. And what have we talked about in Florida for the past 10 years? When I used to do articles, I do 3
Yeah.
articles every
The
spring.
Florida
on it.
guys have a huge advantage.
This is the first tournament that I could remember. Randall Tharp right now is in 16th. There's 40 of them fishing. If you consider him a Florida, he's the highest Florida angler in this. And then as you scroll down, you got to go down to 25th if you're going to call Chris Lane Florida,
Yeah.
you could still call him Alabama because he lives in Alabama now.
Yeah,
But as far as guys who are like full-time Alabama or full-time Florida, like exclusively,
bad week.
36 Shaw Grigsby right now. That's it.
I know.
It's crazy. The Florida guys really got their tails kicked in this.
The Big O is a different animal.
Yep.
It's not fishing the way that it is fished in previous years, and it's unfortunate, but that is the conditions that they are being dealt. It's going through an enormous amount of situational, conditions based upon so many things that are taking place at the Big O right now. And it's unfortunate because I don't think it's really showcasing the skill level of some of these guys and the fact that it just sucks right now. I mean, there's no other way to put it, is there, Matthew?
No, it's
bad.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
A lot of canal fish getting caught. A lot of quality canal fish.
Yeah.
I've always wondered why in Florida, Mark, do the guys use the straight-tailed worms? That's one of the things McClellan won on. We saw what Jordan Lee did with the black Cinco style bait. All the guys like to flip a straight-tailed worm. Alton Jones won the Elite Series on the St. John's, with the dinger, the Cinco, the cane stick, that type of stuff. But I mean, outside of Florida, is anyone like I was flipping a Cinco? No. Why in Florida does everyone just flip a Cinco, but they stop once they get out of Florida? A Texas rig Cinco. Is that a player anywhere else other than Florida?
Texas.
You know what I mean, though. I mean, where everyone,
Texas,
but a lot of guys flip creature baits and flip worms and stuff. But
they Texas rig them in Texas.
Yeah, they can. But Florida is notorious for that on those lakes. Like, why do the fish eat it better there than anywhere else? I was asking for your opinion.
I'm dying. Dude,
I like how we both have
idea.
on the black vest today, too.
I have no idea.
That's a good look.
All right, coming back with Ron Champion here on a Fat Tuesday, everybody. Stay tuned.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
I want to share with you a new product we got coming out from Sunline. This is the FC leader size spools that we have now. We've gotten a lot of requests for this. A lot of you guys use fluorocarbon for leaders only, myself included. And one of the problems you have is when you have a 200-yard spool, that might last you 2, 3, 4 years. You might even lose it before you even get done with the spool. So we've gone to a little smaller spool. These are 50-yard spool sizes. You know, that way you're not holding your line on forever. You can keep your line fresh, use it when you can, stores real easily in the boat. We got all of our popular line sizes that you're used to with our Sniper from 5 to 14 pound. If you guys are looking for a line that you're only tying for a leader, go check out Sunline FC Leader 100% fluorocarbon and give it a try.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
While I travel the country on the Bassmaster Elite Series, I simply can't let the weather be the reason I don't win $100,000. That's why I use AFCO clothing to keep me warm, dry, and protected from whatever Mother Nature wants to throw at me. My season depends on it. My career depends on it. AFCO, any fish, any water.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday. Hope everybody is having a great week. And Matthew, I forgot. I gotta tell you something real quick. I forgot to tell you before the show started. Yesterday I went and I finally saw a orthopedic surgeon.
Having some back issues.
For my back.
Yeah.
All right. So I am thoroughly impressed with the orthopedic physician community. These are pretty amazing people, especially everything that we went through with AJ and his arm situation and all that. Anyway, so what they're going to do, and I need to let everybody know, tomorrow we will not have a show. I am doing a new type of steroid treatment that they actually inject steroids into my back near my spine.
Is this going to are you going to be allowed to fish team tournaments and stuff, or are you going to have to get tested? Are you going to have to let the tournament director know?
It's not that kind of steroid, supposedly. I don't know.
Are you going to be angry now? You're going to have roid rage for the next couple weeks?
No, I hope not, but I'm intrigued with this. Dude, I just hope I get better, because I'm going to tell you right now, my May 17th debut on the PBA 50 Senior Tour right now, I'd say, is in jeopardy.
Oh, you got to
because of my back.
You got to do whatever it takes. You got to
It
tell
really
that
is,
guy
dude.
that you're a professional athlete, that you got a big tournament coming up.
I told him that. He knows what's going on.
You need to be in the Sports Enhancement Center getting physical therapy.
I don't know if I can gut it out, man. We're going to see. It is.
Plus, your back has to get better because we're going to get your big body in a kayak.
And we're going to talk about that because I'm still not convinced that my 6'4" freak of nature frame would be able to fish out of a kayak. And I'm still maybe
Someone sent me a picture. There's a dude who's like a 7-footer who kayak fishes.
What?
Yeah.
But does he have the fear of snakes and water and everything else that I
don't
have?
know.
Probably not.
You can't say that I'm not manly. You're scared of everything that is. You're scared of the water and everything in the water, Mark.
I know, man. I can't get over that. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm willing to try at least one time. All right.
I want to hear Ron's best story of something that's not supposed to be in the kayak trying to get in the kayak, and what his plan of attack was to make sure that gator, beaver, nutria, snake did not enter the vessel.
All right, let's bring him in. Ron, you there, man?
I'm here, guys.
All right, thank you for taking time out. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to admit, as I get the Skype feed queued up here, I am by no means an expert when it comes to what you're really good at. So
it's still fishing, man. We just fish out of plastic Tupperware.
Okay, what has tried to get into the kayak? Like, what's this worst place to fish where you're like, okay, I need like a metal pole, a handgun, an oar? Yeah.
well, I live down here in coastal Georgia, so we got alligators everywhere. And last summer, I was night fishing, and there wasn't no moon. It was pretty dark, and I caught it was probably like a 15-inch bass, but I hooked it real deep, and I was trying to get the hook out, and it was bleeding, but it was kind of flopping in the boat, and it was really deep. And I knew there's gators around everywhere. I mean, like you can just shine your flashlight around the bank, and you'll have 20 sets of eyes looking at you. Well, I guess this gator, he got up on me. I wasn't expecting it, and I had my headlamp on my head, and for some reason something just caught my eye, and I just kind of like turned and looked, and when I did, he swirled, and his tail hit my boat, and it pushed me. It gave the old butt pucker a little bit when that happened. I was that one made me nervous, so I pedaled away from him, and he kind of followed me. But it was probably a gator that somebody had been feeding, which is the worst thing because they associate people with food. That was a scary moment. I picked up a baby one time, and a mama came after me, so that was another one. But gators really don't anything. They don't mess with you really unless you mess with them.
Snakes don't try to get in the boat?
I've heard stories, man, of there were some guys posted some pictures when we fished the national championship I was actually fishing Caddo Lake last year, and there was a guy literally like he took his boat out of the water, and there was a snake like under his seat, and he took a picture of it. He didn't even know it was under his seat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would freak.
Yeah.
But 99% of the time, you're fine.
If a snake comes in my boat, he can have my boat because I'm going out the other side.
Oh, see, Rod doesn't like snakes either, so you're fine.
I don't do snakes, man.
99% of the time, it's a lovely day on the water without anything trying to kill you.
Yeah. All right, let's do this first. I want to remove my thinking that I'm a big dude. I'm 6'4", 235 pounds.
I got you beat.
How do you fit into this thing, and how do you perform at the level that you do when my thinking and my vision is it would just be a mess as big as I am in a canoe or a kayak?
Well, I'm 6'4", 315, so I'm a big guy, and that's the reason that I chose, to fish, for Hobie and fish out of a PA-14. It's a big boat. It's a wide boat. It's really super stable. I can actually sit on the side of the boat and put my feet in the water, and it won't flip. Now you can flip any boat. I don't care, what kind it is. You can still flip a boat, but it's a really stable platform. You can stand up in it. I stand up and fish sometimes, but most of the time I do sit down. And it's but the best thing for anybody to do that's thinking about getting into kayak fishing or just want to get a kayak, just go demo boats, test boats that fit you, because certain boats fit people better than others. Some people like to paddle. I like to pedal with the foot pedals with the Mirage drive. So if you get the right boat, the worst thing you can do is somebody is just to buy a boat that's never been in one, never tested one. Because if you go out and it's the wrong boat and you end up flipping it, more than likely that person is done ever trying it again. So it's best to go with somebody and test several boats out. And there's a lot of good companies out there that make good boats, stable boats. But I fish out of the PA-14. I love that Hobie.
All right, you go to Bass Pro, Dick's Sporting Goods, any of those. They got the kayaks leaning up there. They're like $400 or $500. We're used to you get your $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 into a bass boat. Now, one of these boats, and I've been at some media events that you've been to and seen. You've got the trailer with the double Hobies on it, and they look fancy. Electronics. What are you in a high end tournament ready kayak rig? Ballpark. What does that run?
Well, I mean, it really depends on, how much you wanted to really trick it out. A PA-14, I think it's around $3,600. That gets you your boat, your kayak, your foot pedals, and your seat. And then it's all about, whatever kind of electronics you want to put on it, lithium batteries, power pole, lights. I've got all that on mine. Torpedo, we were talking about, the electric motors that you can put on the back, that those motors are like, $2,200, $2,300. So, I mean,
you can be 15 grand into a kayak easy then.
Mine last year, I had the Lowrance 9 Live on it, but with it and the lithium batteries and the power pole and the Torpedo, the boat, yeah, it was I'd say probably around 11, something like that is what it would take, to put one together like that. But you don't have to have that. You don't have to sink that kind of money into a kayak. You can get you you can buy a really good used kayak, one that you would paddle, for $400 or $500. I tell people all the time, there's always guys selling boats at the end of the season every year because they're getting their new team boats or they just like the new upgrades. There's nothing wrong with buying a used kayak for your first kayak. It's a great way to save a little bit of money. You can get a better kayak, versus buying used and going and buying, a cheap new one. Because the worst thing you can do is buy a boat that's just not stable. It's got a round bottom on it, not really made to fish out of. And you go out there and you flip it and you lose half your gear. And, there's a lot of people that do it, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it happens. It still happens. It happens every year. Multiple people, they end up, flipping or high centering their boat like Lake Fork or Seminole, all these lakes that loaded with trees. You run up on a tree that's just under the water. There's been people roll their boats or get high centered on them, and it happens.
All right, I have a question from a tournament perspective, and I just don't know. Hence, that's why I'm asking you. Are there tournaments where you mentioned electric motors? Are there tournaments where you can only use the electric motors, and then are there tournaments where you can only paddle?
There's both.
Okay.
There's tournaments that are only human powered, which would be either foot pedals or paddling. And several like Hobie, for example, the Hobie BOS series, it's human propulsion only. Now in practice, we can use electric motors, but the motors have to come off of the boat before our tournament actually starts.
Okay.
So for pre-fishing, that's really good. You can cover more water faster. You can go further away. Because our tournaments are open launch. So as long as it's a public access, we can put our kayak in anywhere on the lake. So it opens the whole lake up. You can imagine trying to let 150, 200 kayaks go from one spot.
Oh, yeah.
I would watch that.
I fished in the Hobie Worlds. Yep. We were in Australia this past year, and there's like 50 guys, and you all go. It's a I mean, they blow the horn and it's
shotgun
it's on,
start,
man.
huh?
Yeah, I mean, people's crashing into each other and bumper boats. It's pretty fun, man. To be honest with you, it's a unique experience. But then there are tournaments, like BAS. They're going to allow electric motors for the practice and for their tournament. KBF, they allow electric motors as well. So it just it opens up, a lot more water, for kayak anglers. It also opens up, I mean, there's a lot of older gentlemen or maybe even people that have a little bit of disabilities that, now when they can know that they can use an electric motor, it gives them a chance to really get out. They feel comfortable, feel like they can compete because maybe they can't paddle all day or pedal, but they got a little trolling motor that they can use to help get around. So I see both sides of it. I use it when it's allowed, and when it's not, I don't use it.
All right. Just set some ground rules. I'm just going to roughly run through the rules. If I say anything that's drastically wrong, cut me off. But for the majority of people who know that there are kayak tournaments but don't know anything else about it, which is probably a good portion of our listeners who tournament bass fish, it's you get you go to a meeting, you get like a wristband or some sort of identifier that you then put on you. You have a certified bump board that has inches on it. You have 5 fish, and the winner is on total inches. So you could catch a 16-inch fish that weighs 3.5 pounds or a spawned out 16-inch fish that weighs 1.5 pounds, but it's still a 16-inch fish. So you're all about inches, not girth, for lack of a better term here, Ron. Yep. And then you have an app on your cell phone. You have to measure the fish, take like a certified picture that meets all of it, and then it goes into the system and logs it and catalogs it. And then at the end of the tournament, the guy with the most inches of fish wins. Correct?
You're ready to go kayak fishing, man.
I did my homework on this.
You did your homework. That's 100% correct. We get a unique identifier at the beginning of the tournament. It has to be in the picture with the fish. That way that fish was caught during that time frame. If it's a multiple day tournament, that identifier changes from day to day. That way you don't have people out fishing, with the same identifier. Maybe they caught all their fish on day 1 and then they upload them on day 2. So that identifier does change. Every tournament has its own set of rules. So you gotta there's a strict criteria, on everything from, how your fish, your pictures that you upload, everything. Every tournament it's different. So you gotta be aware of that, and you gotta pay attention to that. We use Tourney X is an amazing system. There's another one out, iAngler. There's an app out there for it. But we take our photos, we upload them live, so people at home can watch the tournament as it's going on. And then there's judges, and they're judging those fish on a very strict criteria. You have to make for sure that, your identifier's in there. You can see the whole board, including the bump board. You got to be able to see the fish's eye because, if the fish was dead, the eye would be milky or glassed over. You can't put your finger up underneath the gill plate. The mouth has to be closed. If the mouth's not closed, then there's a deduction. So all your fish have to be facing to your left side with the dorsal fin up, the belly of the fish facing you. So it's a strict criteria that our photographs have to be taken by. That way, everybody, it's all legit, and it's a lot. It's not just catching the fish and putting it in a live well. Once just catching the fish is just part of it. Then you got to get your picture. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a fish that's popped off the board and back in the water.
Oh,
you're
really?
trying to get your picture. Oh, it happens to people every tournament.
You can't Velcro those fish in? They don't have a sticky board that you could stick them on?
Maybe Lure Lock needs to come out.
A Lure Lock bump board.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah. No, you can't use any restraining device to hold the fish down other than just your hand. And I got these big old paws, so I can grip a fish pretty good. People with little bitty baby hands, they might have a little harder time. But it's happened to me, man. I lost a fish in a tournament several years ago. It cost me over $1,000. I would have won the tournament, one big fish. So it happens, man. It always happens at the worst time too. So
Wow.
But yeah, it's a very strict, criteria. The sports were it evolves every year. Because we're still new, it really took off, started taking off in probably 2013, I would say. And every year, rules keep getting, updated because things come up and they make adjustments because we're still a new sport, but it's a very, very fast growing sport. This is a great time to be involved in it as well.
All right, very cool. I want to go to the instant feedback real quick. Jay in Illinois wants to know if you're running the new 360 drive.
So I am not running the 360 drive this year. I chose to go with a standard PA 14 this season. And just because it was going to be I'm on the regional team for Hobie. It was going to be a few months before I could get my 360, which would means I'd been rigging a boat in the middle of the season. And with me traveling and the tournaments that I do, those boats, the 360 boats sold out, immediately. I mean, it's an amazing fishing, platform. I can't wait to start fishing out of one. But I chose to stay with a regular PA 14. I've got extra drives. I carry extra drives with me. If I'd got a 360, I wouldn't have had an extra drive to been able to carry in case something broke down at an event. So that would have meant I would have been taking a second boat. So I just chose to go with a PA 14 this season. But next year, I'll have that 360. That's an amazing fishing platform.
All right, David in Wisconsin wants to know: have you ever lost your phone during competition?
I have, man. I have.
What do you do then? What happens?
So I used to carry a backup camera, a digital camera. So if you lose your phone and you can't upload, live to the app, you can still take your pictures on a regular camera and then bring that in, and then the judge will actually upload those fish for you. But you've got to be back at a specific time to do that. But the best thing they make for like $7-8. This is a piece of foam. It fits my phone. If it goes in the water, it floats now. So most kayak guys have these now.
Nice.
Wow. So you've done you fished tournaments out of a fiberglass boat. You fished tournaments out of a kayak boat. I'm curious, how relatable is it? I mean, if you put Kevin Van Dam in a kayak, would he dominate the kayak series, and vice versa? If you put the top kayak angler in a fiberglass boat, would he be able to compete in the bass series, or is it a completely different set of skill with some parallels?
Fishing is fishing. We're very limited on how far you can travel when you're fishing a tournament. So you really gotta your practice. It's kind of like these MLF guys. They're looking for those numbers in an area that holds a lot of fish, and that's the same thing that we're looking for in a kayak. Because you can imagine, like if we're fishing Lake Gunnersville, there's parts of that lake that's 2 miles wide. Well, you're looking at a 30-minute pedal just to get to the other side. That's a lot of fishing time. Then you got to come back. So you can't really cover as much water. So your practice and planning, there's a learning curve to that. But the main thing is the learning curve to fish out of a kayak. Just throwing a crankbait, even a little small square bill, your boat wants to track. If you're throwing it off to the left side of the nose of your boat's going to automatically go to the right. So you're constantly fighting your rudder system, and that's me using the foot pedals. If you're somebody that's actually using a paddle, it's even more because I'm hands-free fishing using the Hobie with the feet. Other kayak, the guys that are paddling, there's a huge learning curve. And then if you hook a fish, the wind blows you 150 yards from where you hooked it, and you got to get back up there. And so it's a lot, man. It's a lot of work. You're constantly moving. Like I'm always doing something. But I've been doing it long enough now that it's just like I don't even think about it. I've got a little bitty hand paddle I keep beside me to help my boat position. Now that 360 Hobie, that changes that. Now a lot more control. But with the regular PA 14, I'm constantly using that hand paddle, keeping my nose where it needs to be. You're fighting the wind. You can't always fish, with the wind. I fish Kentucky Lake a lot, fishing ledges out in the middle of the channels.
Wow.
And you can't always cast up on a ledge and bring it down. Sometimes you got to cast down it and bring it up. But yeah, there is a huge learning curve, man, to fishing out of a kayak. I know a lot of guys. Mike Iconelli, Ike's a good friend of mine, and me and him have had these discussions. There is a major learning curve to fish out of a kayak.
You mentioned the Kentucky Lake and fishing on the ledges and stuff, and you guys were just at Lake Fork. I mean, I would be petrified to be like at the water surface when there's, you're fishing on the weekend when there's 200-300 bass boats, pleasure boaters, all sorts of stuff. Like, how do you, I mean, I know I've been on the lake when there's kayak tournaments before, and I'm like really cautious when I run, but how do you guys, as far as safety wise and not like always looking over your shoulder, make sure you don't get run over by a 20-foot bass boat going 70?
That's right. I'm always got my head on the swivel when I'm out there. The one thing that I do use is I fish out of the papaya orange. It used to be the papaya yellow kayak. It's bright. You can see it. And I do that. I fish out of that boat for that reason. I want other boats to be able to see me on the water. I'm not a fan of the real light colored boats that blend in, for that simple reason, because if you're fishing early morning, late afternoon, maybe they didn't have a light on or something. I run a 360 light, in low light conditions as well, but some colors kind of blend in, and I think it's kind of dangerous. But you can adjust that by putting a flag on your boat, maybe wearing a bright color PFD, because we do have to wear PFD 100% of the time. That we're fishing. That's part of the rules. So there's ways to be more visible, but it's fishing in a kayak and when it's real busy or the water's rough, it's not as bad as people think, man. I know in a bass boat, when you get them 3 and 4 foot rollers coming down that river, it's a rough ride. You're by the time you get over one, you're slapping into another one. Well, a kayak's kind of like a bobber, man. We just kind of like float up over it and right back down, and so it's not bad, man. It really ain't. It can be kind of fun sometimes.
Have you found that the fiberglass guys, do you get more or less respect in a kayak as far as getting room to fish?
You know what, man? I think I haven't had that many issues. I've heard stories, of guys and that came in on them, but I've also heard stories from the boat guys, because I got a lot of friends in the boat industry. I mean, the guys that fish professionally on the Elite Series, fish MLF, got a lot of friends on those, and I've heard their stories where kayak guys just went right across them. Everybody needs to have some mutual respect out there. There's enough water to fish. If I see somebody on the spot, I'm not coming right up on top of them. If I'm fishing a ledge, I'm not going to, go up on somebody and cast, within casting distance of their boat. I just don't do that. So I think it goes both ways, but the boat guys, it's been really cool, man. They've showed me a lot of respect, in the industry over the last several years, getting to know a lot of those guys, and they're interested. It's really cool. You can have. It's happened many times, man. I've been at events, and some of the pro guys are there, and you see all these $50,000 to $100,000 rigs sitting there, and then you got a kayak that's decked out that's about $10,000-11,000, and everybody wants to talk about the kayak, so it's kind of cool.
All right, hey, real quick, there's been several posts on the instant feedback, Ron, and I'm not familiar with the situation and what's going on, but I guess there's some drama or there's a situation. Yeah. Would you like to take this opportunity to address the situation that's taking place in the kayak world right now?
Sure, man. And I have no problem. I'm an open book. So we just finished up out at Lake Fork, and so there's a picture that one of the camera guys, I had a camera boat on me, for like 4 hours each day, and in the rules, there's nothing that says that we can't tilt our board. Actually, the tournament director says, he tilts his board and has the nose of the fish laying down on the board and gets a good picture. You can't take that picture at an angle. Well, there's a picture of me holding my fish down in my board. It has a flex in it, but that's not even me taking a picture of the fish. There's 2 videos, live videos. They actually went live on this on Facebook, showing me taking the pictures of my fish. I'm actually viewing the picture that I just took, and I'm trying to hold that fish down, keep it from flopping out of the boat. Because I've had it happen to me. Everybody's happened. I'm going to put a death grip on that fish. That fish ain't going nowhere. And so there's some guys that are saying, oh, you're trying to gain inches, and there's absolutely nothing in the rules. Like I said earlier, every tournament has its own set of rules. There's been no rules broken. I've been doing this for a long time, man. I have camera boats on me all the time. It's just a few guys trying to, I don't know if you want to call it throw shade, or, there's always some kind of drama, it seems like, that surrounds the fishing industry, even the boat side or the kayak side. But I've been doing this a long time, man. I've sat on rule committees. I've helped other tournament directors when people were cheating and got caught. I've been sent the photos. I've done a lot for this industry, and for somebody to say that I was breaking a rule, which is 100% is false. It's just, it's just drama, man. I don't let it get to me. Like I said, I'm an open book. There's live video. Heck, the Kevin from Hobie was right there in the boat, watching me. He's actually the one shooting the video. The camera guy was just taking still photos. So it's all out there. I've already spoke with Hobie this morning, and they completely agree. So that's it, man.
All right. There you have it.
Well said. All right, so what are the trails then? Kind of my last question. Like, if we want to follow this, we've got the Elite Series, we've got the BPT, we've got the FLW Tour, we've got the Opens, we've got the Toyota Series. In kayak fishing, is there like kind of a hierarchy, and like how many tournaments are you fishing this year?
So this year we actually have 3 series. We've always had KBF. Which is Kayak Bass Fishing. They have their trail series, and then they also have a pro series. So they kind of have two things going, and they'll have regional tournaments all over the U.S. And then there's qualifications. You can get to the national championship through their tournament series. BASS just came out with a series this year. It's going to be 5 tournaments. The first tournament is next week on Logan Martin. We're fishing on Thursday, and the Classic, is just going on Gunnersville, just up the road. So from my understanding, they're going to take the winner, or maybe the top 10 guys from that event on Thursday, and they will get to go on the Classic stage. I don't know what day, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. But that's their kickoff. That's their first event, and then from there they will actually go to Lake Fork. I think they go to La Crosse, Wisconsin. There's one on Chickamauga, and then there's also one. Man, somewhere else. I can't remember. They have 5 events. Right. I'm fishing 3 of those 5. And then we have Hobie, which Hobie they started doing tournaments or bass tournaments in 2014. And the first one was held on Kentucky Lake, and it was called the Hobie Bass Open. I actually won that tournament in 2016, and that got me my first Worlds berth. I went to the Hobie Worlds with Team USA in that following year. And then that tournament on Kentucky Lake just kept growing and growing and growing. And now, last year, they actually started their first full year of a tournament trail. It was very successful. Well, this season, I believe it's 8 tournaments. They have an Angler of the Year race. We're traveling all over the country. Our first tournament was on Lake Seminole. I got 19th in that tournament, and we just had the Lake Fork event. I ended up getting 2nd on that tournament. And we go to Lake Norman in North Carolina.
These are all big lakes. I mean, these are all famed bass fishing lakes where you got to do a lot of like Google Earth to figure out where the ramps are and where to put in and how to fish close to them.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued.
I would imagine Google Earth is like your best friend.
It is, man. I spend a lot of time doing map study. You're looking for, those access points that are public. And then you got to get to them and make for sure that they're public. So doing your research, even before not only are you doing your research about the lake and, looking at, your sea map and Navionics or whatever you're using, but you're also looking, like you said, at Google Earth, and you're looking at roads and you're looking at access points and where you can get to the water. And, because on a good day, if it was an 8-hour tournament, if you can pedal your boat at 4 miles an hour, it's going to take you an hour to go 4 miles, away from the boat ramp. So you got to figure in that time to get to your fishing grounds, to get back. So there's a lot that goes into, finding locations that you can actually launch as close to your fishing grounds as possible. So there's a lot of work that goes into just figuring out, certain ends of the lake, going to fish better certain times of the year. And the farthest that I've ever went in one time, I went 8 miles in one direction to get to my fishing grounds. Jeez. Yeah, it was a long way. The most I've ever done in one day was 16, and that was that same day. It took me 8 miles to get there and 8 miles back. It was a long way, man.
If I pedaled 8 miles and didn't catch anything, I would be so mad. Because it's one thing if you run and you don't catch them, you're like, oh man, they just weren't up here. But that would piss me off.
In Australia, in the Hobie Worlds last year, it was 2 days. Let's see, we had 2 days of practice and 3 days of comp. I did over 90 miles in 5 days.
Were you telling me before, the Australians just left everybody in their dust at the shotgun start?
Oh man, you're not keeping up with those guys. They're insane, man.
That's impressive.
It's like Usain Bolt in a kayak. Those guys fast. I can't, dude. I'm 100 yards into it. I'm big and I'm huffing and puffing, and they are just leaving me, man. I can maintain about 3.6 to 3.8 mile an hour and not really get tired. I get over that 4 mile an hour mark, my legs start burning. These guys are doing 5.5 for miles. They just disappear, and they're going against the tide. It seemed like every day we were going against the tide. Those guys are beasts, man. I can't keep up with them.
Wow. All right, Ron, man, I can't thank you enough. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show and kind of giving at least me and the fans out there some insight on what kayak angling is all about. And I will make this commitment, Matthew. I will try sometime when it gets a little warmer to get into a kayak and experience that. I don't know when
Grand
or where.
Lake, 4th of July weekend.
Something like that. No, absolutely not.
I'll make it easy for you. I've got 3 fully rigged pro anglers, Hobie pro anglers, fully rigged. And you can come and get one, or you can come fishing with me, and I'll show you, why I love this sport so much.
All right, is it easy to throw a Carolina rig out of a kayak, Ron? That's the main question that Mark has.
Water.
Yes.
Top water.
Yep. You can cast it every now and then. You'll hang, like my rods are behind me, standing up, and every now and then on a back cast I'll hang one, and you get a big old bird's nest. Then it happens.
It is what it is. All right, man. Take care, Ron. Good luck to you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. All right, man. Take care.
See y'all.
All right, there you have it, Ron Champion. And interesting stuff, man. I can't imagine pedaling 16 miles.
I assume it's all part of it. You got fitness. It seemed to me that what I gathered was, the more I listened to it and the more I've kind of looked into this, that your homework and off-the-water preparation is massive in this deal. Because think about it, you're looking for backwater ponds or areas that are adjacent to public access points to where you can get away from the fiberglass and aluminum boats that can't get back there. But then you also have to contend with the 150 other kayakers that are all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Your decision making is very critical, because think about this. In a bass tournament, 8 hours, you're going 72 miles an hour. You can make a dozen wrong decisions. Fair point?
Yeah.
And all you have to do is make one, because you have time to learn from it and to rebound from it.
Yeah.
In a kayak tournament, by the time you get somewhere and realize you've made a wrong decision, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because you can't run to the other end of the lake. You can't go. You are committed to your game plan prior to that day
you're right.
when you go into it.
You're right. You're right.
I'm not sure I'd be night fishing in Georgia with a gators all
How
around.
about Kentucky Lake when one of those barges come through?
No.
Out on the ledge?
No.
I need to get out of the way. Yeah, it's going to take me a few seconds here. All right, man. We are going to wrap up the show today with a special guest. All right, let's bring him in right now. Hey, who is this? You there?
This is Jason Christie.
Oh, whoa! It's
Jason. How are you, man?
That's not really Jason. Is it really Jason Christie?
This is really Jason Christie, Matthew. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm driving.
Yeah. I got you really good. All right.
Good, yeah.
I appreciate.
I'm just curious why I got a text last night that said Matt Pankrak wants to know why I am not catching any bass.
It's a good question. Why don't you ask him, Matt?
Because you're Jason Christie, dude. I mean, when I moved to Oklahoma, you are the GOAT. You're the Jason Christie. I mean, you confirmed before that people have left tournaments when you show up to the ramp. That's how scared they are of you.
Yeah. Well, I figured if you were going to ask a question like that, no farther than we are apart, you could just drive down to the house and we could talk about it.
Did Jeffrey set you up on this? Because I'm like ready to take the vest off. I'm sweating under the collar right now.
Well, just to save you a little time, I said I was driving. I'm headed to the studio. I'll be there in about 30 minutes.
He's coming after you,
man. Did you set Jason up on this? Is this a setup?
It's not a setup.
Okay.
I'm trying to do my job, right? Here's what happened. After our conversation on the show yesterday,
right?
I called you basically a wuss.
Yeah.
That you were afraid.
I didn't say I was afraid.
Yes, you did.
We
can go back and listen to the replay.
No, I said that I wasn't afraid. I just said that there's two guys that kind of intimidate me when it comes to stuff. Not scared. It just to where you're like, okay, like we got to get, and it's Rick, like I said, it's Rick Clunn in a tournament setting.
Yeah.
Because he talks so soft and he doesn't really want to talk about it. And Jason Christie, just because of his competitive nature, I mean, so that's all I said.
Yeah, but then I asked you, will you call Jason? I'm not calling Jason. I'm not going to call him. That's what you said. So, what did I do?
You called him.
I did my job as a person of the media to see if Jason would be willing to come on the show and answer some questions that, frankly, I'm sure the fans would want to know and I would want to know. So, I did my job, and I've got Jason Christie.
Okay,
on there.
well,
So
I'll ask him the questions then. Here's the questions. Jason, you go 3 days in a row without catching a keeper. You've won millions of dollars. How the heck did that happen? And did it feel good to put that keeper in the boat on the second day there at Okeechobee?
25 minutes away.
He's coming after you.
Hey, I'm joking with you, Pankrak. We're good.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, there's a lot that goes on out there, and, you know, I'm not going to make any excuses because no matter what the conditions are, being a professional angler, that's my job, is to catch fish. And, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, I was a little surprised yesterday when I got the call from Jeffrey. It's funny that, you know, there's a lot of interest, a lot of questions probably whenever I don't catch them versus when I am catching them. And it doesn't bother anybody more than it does me. And to answer your question, when I put that fish, you know, in the boat on the second day, yeah, me and my boat official did a man hug in the boat just because there was so much weight lifted off my shoulders. But, you know, there's so much that people don't know that happens out there. And like I said, there's no excuses, but, you know, I want to start with last year. You know, last year I think I missed Red Crest by 2 places. And in my book, that's a very, very subpar year. I mean, that's not acceptable by me, by my sponsors, by my family. It's not acceptable, and I knew that. And, you know, I did a lot of things different in the off season. I did a lot more preparation and, you know, I a lot more hands-on time with my stuff than I've ever done. And then you enter this year, you know, I enter this year wanting to do good more than I ever have. And in my opinion, that's the worst thing that you can do as a fisherman, because the harder you try, the more I'm going to use myself. The more I think, the worse I do. I'm not a thinker. Edwin Evers, he's a thinker. I mean, I've stayed with him. That's why I use him for example. He's a thinker. He's very smart on the water. I'm not that person. I fish instincts, and I'm a grinder, and you know, we went to that first event, and I had a really good practice. And you know, we fish on the second day. We have a day off, so that gives a day for the lake to change. And when I get out there, literally everything that I have is 2 foot under the water, and it boils down to this. I went looking, and I just never ran into anything. They had a big tournament on our day, and I knew what was going on. You obviously, it's not brain surgery. You had to get in the clearer water, but every time I got around clearer water, you had competitors, you know, of MLF competitors, and also you had tournament boats that were going on that day. So that's just not me. You guys know that. That's not me. I went back to the mud, and I just never got it going. You know, Okeechobee was a lot the same the first day. I had feedback.
Oh,
we lost Jason Christie. It's because he just pulled into the driveway. The door opens in about 20 seconds here.
All right. Yeah, that's on his end, unfortunately. Here, let's do this.
He's probably trying to drive back. You can try calling back.
Yeah. Let's do
I got to hand it to you, Mark. That was a pretty good one. What did he say when you called him?
It was cool. I'll tell you. Hopefully we can get him back here.
All right.
Let's see if we can get him back.
He's still on Okeechobee. He's still on Okeechobee.
That was good stuff, though. Him kind of bring. All right, you back, man? Jason.
Oh, bad signal.
Jason,
nope, we got him.
All right, we got you back.
All right, we're headed to Okeechobee now.
I lost you guys.
Yep.
Now, you got us now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Yeah, where did you lose me at?
We lost you. You were headed to Okeechobee, and you said it's kind of started to be the same thing as you fall, and then I was afraid you'd pulled into the driveway because the phone went dead.
Yeah, I'm almost there. Just 5 more minutes. No, Okeechobee, I had the best practice that I've ever had, and in Florida, and that first day of the event, it blew, and it took, everything I was catching was flipping, and I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was going to come to the degree that it did, where, it was just, my areas got really, really dirty, and, it was just hard to even fish. It was really a frustrating day, and, the fans listening probably saying, well, why don't you do what everybody else did, go to the canals and fish? Well, it's easy to say that whenever you're sitting there watching everybody else fish. But I hunkered down in an area. Actually, I got in the same area with Ott and I ran into each other, and I watched Ott catch all the fish that he caught. Just one of those deals where every bite that I got was 115, 114. It was just a frustrating day, but when I caught that first one, the second day, there was really no doubt when I caught it that I was going to catch enough to make it, because my area had started to clean up a little bit, and I knew there were a lot of really big ones around, and I just never got a big bite. Had several bites, and I lost a few, but you're going to do that fishing the way that I was fishing. But just didn't work out. You look around you look in the bass fishing, it happens to everybody. And I've known this was going to happen for 13 years. I knew there was going to be a year that would come, that it would be challenging and frustrating. And I've hit that little span right now, and it's just how am I going to recover from it? And that's why I'm in as many tournaments as I can get in, and it's kind of like coaching. Only way to get over a bad game is play another game, and that's what I want to do. And it happens to everybody. I mean, you look at Kevin a few years ago. Kevin had a rough year, and everybody was doubting him. He turned right around, wins 2 or 3 events. Justin Lucas had a terrible year. Next year wins Angler of the Year. It happens to everybody. It's how you recover from it. And I'll guarantee you one thing, I'll recover from it.
You're not fishing Nichols this weekend, are you?
Yeah, I just need to know what kind of boat you drive.
I'll be in a Hobie kayak.
Wow.
You'll be easy to catch.
Yeah, there you have it. All right, Jason, man, I can't thank you enough for taking time out and telling me and telling the fans kind of your thoughts after these couple of events so far this year. I think the remainder of the season sets up really, really good for you, and we fully expect you to bounce back and really have a good remainder of the season.
Yeah, I will, and I was one of the guys that was really pushing for the 2-pound minimum, and I loved it. I mean, even though the first 2 events have been not been great for me, I love the way that we have the minimum now. It changes the way I think everybody's going to fish, and it's going to be the way that I want to do it. And it'll end up helping me in the future.
There you go,
man. All right, well, best of luck to you, Jason, and I'll be in touch, man, and can't thank you enough for calling in.
All right, Rack.
Yes, sir.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
There you have it. All right, see ya. There you have it, Jason Christie. Woo! How about that, Matthew?
Oh, that was well done, Mark. I got tip of the cap to you there, Mark.
All right, when I left the studio,
tip of the cap to Jason for playing along.
Well, when I left the studio and I was headed to class, I texted him and I said, "Hey, man, you got 5 minutes," and didn't hear from him all day long because I knew he probably had stuff going on. And then during practice, he calls me.
Right.
So I took the call and I just told him, I said, "Hey, man, I'm just doing my job. A lot of people out there want to know what's going on with Jason Christie. I know it's only 2 events. I know you've had a couple of good events over on the other side. But Matt Pangrack said that he was afraid to call you."
I did not say I was afraid.
He is very intimidated by you. In fact, he is afraid of you. And he starts laughing.
That is not what I said.
Go back and listen to the replay.
Go back and listen to the replay, Mark.
So I said, "Look, man," I said, "I respect the fact that if you don't want to come on the show, but I will respect the fact even more if you're willing to come on the show and talk about some of your struggles."
Oh, he came on the show.
And he's like, "No problem, man. No problem." So there you have it, a little bit of Jason Christie and a little bit of the explanation on what's going on with him. So obviously, I mean, he's one of the superstars of the game. I've seen the dude since he was taking money from me back in the Redman days, and truly is one of the superstars that are out there on any of the tours. And he will turn it around. And he's right. Everybody goes through it, Matthew.
Yeah, it's 4 days. 4 days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So there you have it, man. You like that? I got you.
I do. You did. You got me. 100%.
I got you.
Nah, I got to figure some way to level the playing field here. I'm racking my brain.
I got creative with that one. I got creative. All right, folks. No show tomorrow. We are going to be back on Monday with the Classic Odds Show. I got a lot of work to do. The 50th version, probably the 14th or 15th version of the Odds Show. And I might be calling you for a little bit of handicapping help.
That'll work.
Matthew.
Big thanks to Ron Champion, who drove all night to get back from Lake Fork and then kind of letting us in on the Kayak World. It's in depth, Mark. It's not just getting a kayak and go catch them. There's a lot to it.
I'm intrigued by it. I'm going to follow it a little bit more, and I am definitely sticking to the commitment to get into a kayak sometime this year. Just don't know when.
All right.
We'll see. All right, everybody, be safe. That is it. Once again, I want to thank Jason Christie for coming on the show last minute. And everybody out there, be safe. That's it. We're out of here.